In the world of professional tennis, we've become numb to spectacle. We've seen records shattered, witnessed 150-mile-per-hour serves that defy physics, endured 5-hour marathons that test the limits of human endurance, and watched prize money checks that look like lottery jackpots. We thought we'd seen it all. We were wrong. What happened yesterday in the scorching heat of the desert sun wasn't just unprecedented. It was the kind of moment that stops time, the kind that makes you question everything you thought you knew about value, about sacrifice, about what it truly means to be wealthy. This wasn't about tennis anymore. This was about the human soul. Picture this scene, and I want you to really imagine yourself there because what I'm about to describe sounds like fiction, but I promise you, every single word is true. You've just played the match of your life. Your muscles are screaming in protest, lactic acid burning through every fiber. The adrenaline that carried you through 3 brutal sets is finally fading, leaving behind the sweet exhaustion of victory. The roar of the crowd is still echoing in your ears, a symphony of appreciation that makes every sacrifice worthwhile. You walk to the net, drenched in sweat, ready to pack your bag, maybe sign a few autographs, and retreat to an ice bath that's calling your name. This is your routine. This is how matches end. And then suddenly the stadium goes quiet. Not the natural quiet of a crowd catching its breath, but an eerie, uncomfortable silence that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. Something is wrong, or maybe something is very, very different. You look around, confused, as security personnel part like the Red Sea. A man walks onto the court, striding with purpose and authority. He's not a tournament official in a polo shirt and khakis. He's not an overeager fan who jumped the barrier. This man is draped in immaculate traditional robes that probably cost more than your annual salary. He's flanked by confused tournament officials who are simultaneously trying to stop him and too terrified to actually do so because they know exactly who he is. Everyone knows who he is. He signals for the umpire's microphone. The umpire, stunned into compliance, hands it over without question. The audio system crackles to life, and his voice booms across the silent stadium, deep and trembling with raw emotion. He looks directly at you, and in that moment you realize your life is about to change forever. He offers you $10 million, $10 million, not for a sponsorship deal that would require years of appearances and obligations, not for a commercial where you'd have to pretend to love some product, not even for your autograph or a photo opportunity. He wants the sweaty, taped-up racket currently sitting in your trembling hand, the tool you just used to win, a piece of graphite and string that retails for maybe $300 at any sporting goods store, $10 million for a tennis racket. This isn't a movie script dreamed up by Hollywood executives looking for their next sports drama. This is real life. This is the moment that stopped the entire tennis world in its tracks, made billionaires weep, and reminded everyone watching that some things in this universe truly cannot be bought. This is the story of Filipino sensation Alex Eala, an oil tycoon named Sheikh Khalid al-Rashid, a simple birthday wish that spiraled into something extraordinary, and a 5-second response that will be talked about for generations. Welcome back and buckle up because this story is going to hit you right in the heart. To understand the sheer insanity and beauty of this moment, we first need to talk about who Alex Eala is and why this gesture means so much more than it appears on the surface. Alex Eala has been on a meteoric rise that has the tennis world scrambling to recalibrate their expectations. This young Filipina star, a graduate of the legendary Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain, has been tearing through the rankings like a force of nature, silencing critics who said she'd never make it, and carrying the hopes and dreams of an entire nation on her 20-year-old shoulders. She's not just a tennis player anymore. She's become a symbol, a phenomenon, a living embodiment of what's possible when talent meets relentless determination. Born in the Philippines, a country where tennis infrastructure is minimal at best and opportunities are scarce, Eala has had to fight for absolutely everything. While other players were training at state-of-the-art facilities with teams of coaches, nutritionists, and sports psychologists, Eala was grinding through junior tournaments on the other side of the world, far from home, sacrificing precious time with family and friends to chase a dream that most people told her was impossible. She's faced devastating injuries that would have ended lesser careers. She's dealt with funding challenges that forced her family to make painful sacrifices. She's endured the crushing pressure of being her country's great hope in a sport historically dominated by wealthier nations with established tennis traditions. But somehow, through sheer force of will and an unbreakable spirit, she kept climbing. In recent months, Eala has been ascending the WTA rankings with a determination that has caught the attention of tennis legends. Her aggressive baseline game, combined with tactical intelligence that seems beyond her years, has drawn comparisons to some of the all-time greats. Just weeks before this incident, she scored a massive upset against a top 20 player, announcing to the world that she's not just a promising prospect anymore, she's a genuine threat to anyone who steps on court with her. The Filipino tennis community has rallied behind her with an intensity that borders on religious fervor. Viewing parties are organized across Manila every single time she plays, with hundreds gathering in homes and public spaces to watch their champion battle on screens thousands of miles away. Children who've never held a tennis racket are picking up the sport because of her. Teenagers are telling their parents they want to be the next Alex Eala. She's not just playing for ranking points or prize money. She's playing for an entire generation that desperately needs a hero, a role model, someone who proves that dreams don't have geographical boundaries. This context makes what happened next even more profound. For someone who understands the value of every single dollar because she's watched her family sacrifice so much to support her dreams, for someone who knows what it's like to count pennies and make impossible choices between equipment and travel expenses, turning down $10 million isn't just generous. It's revolutionary. It's the kind of decision that makes you reconsider everything you thought you knew about human nature. Arriving at this particular tournament, Eala was laser-focused with the intensity of someone who knows their moment has arrived. She'd just come off a grueling season, battling through qualifiers when other players were getting main draw wildcards, fighting for every single point like her life depended on it because, in many ways, it did. The match in question was already generating headlines before the billionaire even stepped onto the court. Eala was playing with a ferocity that commentators struggled to describe. Her forehand was firing like a cannon loaded with pure determination. Her court coverage was supernatural, reaching balls that should have been winners and turning defense into offense in the blink of an eye. She wasn't just winning matches, she was making believers out of skeptics. She was inspiring people who'd never even watched tennis before. But in the VIP box high above the court, something else entirely was happening. Sheikh Khalid al-Rashid, a man whose estimated net worth exceeds $50 billion, a man who owns fleets of custom supercars that most people will only see in magazines, private islands that appear in luxury travel blogs, and perhaps half the skyline of the city where this tournament was being held, was watching the match. But he wasn't watching the scoreboard. He wasn't analyzing Eala's technique or calculating her chances of winning. He was watching his daughter, Ayesha al-Rashid. To the rest of the world, Ayesha is an heiress to an oil empire so vast it could fund small countries. But yesterday, in that VIP box, she was just a young girl with stars in her eyes, watching her hero with the kind of pure admiration that wealth can never manufacture. Sources extremely close to the family have revealed that Ayesha has been battling serious personal health struggles, the kind that put life into sharp perspective and make trivial concerns evaporate. During her recovery, during the long nights and difficult treatments, during moments when giving up seemed easier than continuing, she found solace in one thing: watching Alex Eala play tennis. She didn't just casually enjoy Eala's matches. She worshipped her spirit. Eala's never-give-up attitude, her refusal to be intimidated by bigger names or longer resumes, her ability to come back from deficits that would break most people, all of this became Ayesha's lifeline. When Ayesha was in pain, she'd watch videos of Eala fighting through injuries. When she felt like quitting, she'd remember Eala's journey from obscurity to prominence. This wasn't celebrity worship. This was survival. Eala had become, without even knowing it, a crucial part of Ayesha's healing process. As Eala smashed the final winner down the line to seal the match, a perfectly placed forehand that her opponent couldn't even react to, the stadium erupted in celebration. 10,000 people on their feet, roaring their approval, creating a wall of sound that shook the very foundations of the arena. But in the VIP box, something quieter but infinitely more powerful was happening. Ayesha turned to her father, tears streaming down her face, and whispered the words that would change everything. She told him that all she wanted for her birthday, the only thing she truly desired in this world, was to hold a piece of that magic, to possess something that her hero had touched, something that represented everything Eala stood for. Now, most fathers would immediately pull out their phones and start searching for official merchandise. They'd buy an autographed poster, maybe arrange a meet and greet, perhaps commission a custom jersey. But Sheikh Khalid al-Rashid is not most fathers. He's a man accustomed to making things happen through sheer force of will and unlimited resources. He's someone who spent his entire life in a world where every problem has a price tag, where wanting something and obtaining it are essentially the same thing. If his daughter wanted a piece of Eala's magic, then by God, he would give her exactly that, regardless of what it took or what it cost. The match ended with Eala's victory secured. She shook hands with her devastated opponent, offering words of encouragement because that's the kind of person she is. She waved to the crowd, acknowledging their support with genuine gratitude. She was wiping rivers of sweat from her brow, utterly exhausted, probably thinking about that ice bath, maybe a protein shake, definitely a long conversation with her coach about the match's key moments. This was supposed to be the end of her day on court. She had no idea it was actually just the beginning. Suddenly, inexplicably, the security detail positioned near the players' bench parted with military precision. A hush fell over the arena so complete you could hear individual conversations in the upper deck. Something was happening, something unusual, something that made even seasoned tennis fans who'd seen everything lean forward in their seats. Walking purposefully onto the court was Sheikh Khalid himself, dressed in those immaculate traditional robes, flanked by tournament officials who looked simultaneously confused and terrified. He wasn't being aggressive or demanding, he was simply a man on a mission, and nothing was going to stop him. He signaled for the umpire's microphone with a gesture that expected compliance. The umpire, recognizing that this was far above his pay grade and outside any protocol manual, simply handed it over. The audio system crackled to life, and the Sheikh's voice echoed across the silent stadium, deep and trembling with emotion that no amount of wealth could disguise or control. Every single person in that arena held their breath. "I am a father," the Sheikh's voice boomed, and in those 4 simple words, he stripped away every layer of wealth and power and status. "And I will do anything to make my daughter happy." Eala froze mid-motion. She gripped her racket tighter, knuckles going white, completely unsure if this was some kind of security breach, a ceremony she hadn't been informed about, or something else entirely. Her eyes darted to her coach, to tournament officials, searching for guidance that nobody could provide because nobody had ever experienced anything like this. The Sheikh turned deliberately toward the VIP box where his daughter stood pressed against the glass, her hands covering her mouth, tears already forming because she knew what was coming and couldn't quite believe it was real. Then he turned back to face the young tennis star who'd unknowingly become such an important part of his daughter's life. "Alex Eala," he continued, his voice carrying across the hushed stadium like a prayer, "you are the inspiration for my daughter Aisha. You have given her strength when she had none. You have shown her that fighting spirit when quitting seemed easier. For this gift you have given her, a gift you didn't even know you were giving, I would like to offer you 10 million United States dollars to purchase the racket you used to win today's match." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd like a physical wave. You could hear individual reactions, sharp intakes of breath, whispered curses of disbelief, the rustle of 10,000 people shifting in their seats simultaneously. $10 million. For a piece of sporting equipment, for a tennis racket that probably had a few more matches left in it before the strings needed replacing, for an object that most players would toss in their equipment bag without a second thought. The absurdity and the beauty of the offer hung in the air like something you could reach out and touch. You could hear a pin drop in that massive stadium. Television commentators went completely silent, their usual analysis failing them because there are no statistics for this, no historical precedents to reference, no expert opinions that could possibly make sense of what was happening. This was uncharted territory in every possible way. "It is not just an item," the Sheikh continued, and now his carefully constructed billionaire persona was completely gone, stripped away to reveal nothing but a desperate father willing to do absolutely anything for his child. "It is a symbol of passion, of determination, of everything my daughter needs to remember during her darkest moments. Please, I am asking you as one human being to another, help me give my daughter something that means everything to her." The broadcast cameras, operated by professionals who'd filmed thousands of matches and thought they'd seen every possible drama tennis could offer, zoomed in tight on Eala's face. Her expression was impossible to read, a complex mixture of shock, confusion, compassion, and something else, something that suggested the wheels in her mind were turning at lightning speed, processing an impossible situation that nobody could have prepared her for. She looked at the sheikh, really looked at him, seeing past the robes and the wealth to the vulnerable father underneath. She looked at the racket in her hand, the tool of her trade, scratched and scarred from the hard court surface, the grip stained dark with the sweat of her effort, the strings slightly loosened from the power of her shots. 1 second passed, 2, 3, 4, 5 agonizing seconds where nobody in that stadium breathed, nobody moved. The entire world seemed to pause, waiting to see what would happen when an unstoppable offer met an immovable spirit. Was she insulted by the implication that everything has a price? Was she doing rapid mental calculations, converting $10 million into Philippine pesos, thinking about what that money could do for her family, for her career, for the tennis development programs she'd always dreamed of starting? Was she about to call security because this was bizarre and inappropriate and completely outside the normal bounds of sporting events? $10 million changes lives in ways most people can't even imagine. It builds hospitals and schools. It funds entire careers for dozens of athletes. It secures comfort and stability for generations. It's the kind of money that 99.9% of people would accept without hesitation, would probably accept for far less than a tennis racket. Most people would have handed over the racket, the shoes, the bag, their entire outfit for a fraction of that astronomical sum. But Alex Eala, this 20-year-old champion from the Philippines who's fought for every single thing she's ever achieved, is built fundamentally different from most people. In those 5 eternal seconds, she didn't look at the financial opportunity. She didn't calculate exchange rates or future investment returns. She didn't consult with agents or managers or financial advisors. She looked at the humanity of the moment. She saw what was really being asked of her, and more importantly, what was really being offered. This wasn't a transaction. This was a father's love meeting an athlete's influence. This was about something that exists in a space money can never reach. She walked slowly toward the microphone stand with purpose and grace. She didn't look back at her coach for approval. She didn't make eye contact with tournament officials who were probably having minor heart attacks trying to figure out the insurance implications and legal ramifications. She leaned into the microphone, and when she spoke, her voice was steady, calm, and filled with a kindness that seemed to radiate outward and touch every single person in that arena. "Sir," Eala said, her voice echoing through the stadium with crystal clarity, "your daughter's love for the game is worth more than any amount of money in the world." She paused, letting those words sink in, letting everyone process what she was really saying. Then she looked up at the VIP box where Aisha was watching with her heart in her throat, and Eala smiled, a genuine warm smile that said everything without needing additional words. "I cannot sell you this racket for $10 million, Eala continued, and you could feel the collective confusion in the crowd. Was she negotiating for more? Was this some kind of power play? But then she kept talking, and everyone understood. "I cannot sell it to you because inspiration should never be bought. Real inspiration, the kind that saves lives and gives people reason to keep fighting, that should be shared freely. It should be given as a gift, offered with an open heart, never commodified or turned into a transaction." She then walked with deliberate steps to the edge of the court, positioning herself directly below the VIP box where Aisha stood frozen in disbelief. She signaled with a gentle wave for the girl to come down. Security personnel hesitated, looking at each other with uncertainty, unsure if this was protocol or chaos or something in between. But the sheikh nodded his permission, and they carefully helped Aisha navigate the stairs and barriers until she stood at court level, this young woman who could have anything money could buy, but who wanted only this one thing that money apparently couldn't. Eala knelt down, bringing herself to eye level with the billionaire's daughter, creating a moment of equality that wealth and status couldn't interfere with. This was just 2 human beings connecting over shared love of a sport and mutual respect. "This is for you," Eala said softly, but clearly enough for the nearby microphones to capture, placing the racket carefully into Aisha's trembling hands like she was transferring something sacred. "For free, no strings attached, no conditions or expectations. But I do have one request, just one small thing I'd like you to promise me."